Um, how do you use technology for your schoolwork and education?
For my schoolwork, I now find a computer is a very important part of all of my homework. Before, I could usually get away with writing my essays on a piece of paper and pencil and turning them in, even when I have very nice handwriting. But now, it is essential that you have a computer so that you can type all of your essays, do all of your research, go to all the online databases and figure out, what your sources are. And you need a computer for that. You can't spend several hours in the library if it's like 10 o'clock at night and you got to finish that assignment by tomorrow. You got to go to all the icsd.com, their library, high school library website, go to the databases, figure out what you need to do your research there. And you need a computer for that. You need the internet. And, there's always different computers. I always have to use Google Drive now. I used to always save everything on my mom's computer, but now I do work in the school library. I don't always have the same computer. I do work now in our computer lab here, and I do work at home, depending on my mom's or my dad's computer, depending on which parent needs their own computer. So I'm a lot more integrated into the cloud. I don't use it that often for anything else. The only social media I really use is for our cross-country Facebook group, and that's about it. I don't do any of the Twitter, Instagram stuff. I don't really know what that is. Really, the main level of comfort for me is, playing Pokemon on a Nintendo, and that's about as far as I want to go in terms of how technologically advanced I'd like my life to get. I think otherwise we become really dependent on something or other, and it doesn't really work out that way. And that's all I have to say.
Kind of electronic devices. But when it comes to deciding which OS to use and which product from which company to use, I have my preferences. For smartphones and smart devices such as tablets, I prefer to use Samsung products over Apple and LG because I have used Apple iPhone series, LG Optimus G series, and Galaxy S series, and I have decided that the Galaxy S series is the best. And I learned that every single Apple products in the market are extremely overpriced. Finally, I don't really like iOS, because Android is an open source OS that allows altering the system by rooting into the system, but whereas a jailbroken iOS, there really isn't much you can do on it. As for TV, there are smart TVs out there, but I don't really watch TV, and I don't planning on spending a lot of time watching TV. But if I ever buy a TV, I'm probably not gonna use Apple TV because first of all, I don't really know how it works. And I'm probably going to have to buy a Samsung Smart TV if I ever buy one. For laptops and desktop personal computers, I used to always prefer iMacs, MacBook Pros, branded desktop personal computers. However, now since I know more about computers in general, I think it's a huge waste of money to buy iMacs, MacBook Pros, or brand desktop PCs because all of them are overpriced and doesn't show good performance. I don't know for a fact that custom-built desktop PCs are way cheaper and performs better, and now I only use custom-built PCs, such as compact gaming desktop or just custom-built desktop PCs. People have their preferences, but I don't understand why, because some brands make products that are cheaper and clearly better than the other. However, there are clear bias for certain products in certain part of the world, and the biggest rivalry in the world of electronics, as I consider it, is Samsung and Apple. Google doesn't have a lead competitor, but Amazon considers Google as their lead competitor, and from inputs I have from different people and interviews, we can conclude that there is no perfect or the best product out there.
Music creates a release from the world around us, an alternate means of expressing oneself through a symphony of sounds. There is something so calming to me about playing an instrument. It allows me a brief moment of respite from my normal stressful life. When you are playing, you are immune to the stresses of the world, because that interferes with producing a beautiful sound that you hear in your head. When picking an instrument, French horn was an easy choice. Its glorious tone, heavenly sound, and soaring beauty make it stand atop the world of musical expression. I first started playing French horn when I was 7 years old, but stopped after a couple months because it was just too heavy for me to hold at that point. But I started playing for real in 4th grade, and the French horn has been a constant part of my life ever since. my love of music truly blossomed in 8th grade when I joined the Junior Massachusetts Youth Wind Ensemble, run out of the New England Conservatory of Music. Playing in this ensemble pushed me to master music that I would have previously thought was well beyond my capabilities. Not only was the music demanding technically, but it also pushed me to gain a greater lyrical understanding of the music. This understanding led me to truly appreciate the power of the music I was playing, and made me realize that I never, ever wanted to stop playing. The year culminated with a stunning performance in Boston's Jordan Hall with a nearly hour-long program of fantastic music. As I grew up, my love of music expanded beyond French horn. A friend of mine introduced me to guitar, and I started to play around with it. I realized that I instantly loved it, and spent hours trying to teach myself various chord progressions and the basics to play any number of songs. I even started to take music lessons on guitar, but I discovered that I really just like to learn at my own pace. Although I am still a beginner, I enjoy my feeble attempts at playing guitar. Guitar is an instrument that is worlds away from French horn. One can very quickly get to a point that you can create musical accompaniment to a wide variety of songs, which is very different than the normal Mozart repertoire of French horn. In much the same way, I also taught myself to play piano. It was a way to learn how to read bass clef, and I learned in a similar manner that worked for me to play guitar. I took one of my favorite pieces, Music of the Night, from Phantom of the Opera, and measure by measure taught myself to play it. Still today, when people hear me play it, they assume that I can really play the piano, but I actually have never had a lesson in my life, and learning any new piece is still just the same slow process. In addition to playing musical instruments, I have always had an affinity for both classical music and Broadway musical theater, something that is not particularly common for 5-year-old kids. Going to New York to go to the theater has become a family tradition. So, for example, last summer we went to see Idina Menzel star alongside Anthony Rapp in the hit show If Then. In fact, it was my dad who first got me interested in classical music and Broadway musicals. He himself is a classical music fanatic, with stacks upon stacks of CDs of the breadth of the classical repertoire in his overflowing study. Beyond my dad's collections of CDs, I have taken a bit more modern approach to listening to music and get most of my music from YouTube. In particular, the Piano Guys, who creatively combine pop music with classical music in incredibly well-done videos posted on YouTube. I can honestly say that their music has sustained me through my many late-night hours hunched over my papers struggling to complete that last assignment. Their arrangements are incredibly well done by intertwining well-known pop music with centuries-old classics. Not only this, but each video has breathtaking imagery that exactly matches mood and movement the sound images being painted by the music. In particular, one piece, Moonlight, which can be found on repeat during my many late-night struggles, reworks 2 themes from different pieces by Ludwig van Beethoven, one from a piano sonata and the other from orchestral symphony, both intertwined now on electric cello to an entirely different effect. Every time that I hear it, I marvel at the ease with which these artists express themselves. Throughout my life, music has been a large inspiration to me to not only finish my homework, but to give me a place to retreat to that's completely my own.
XKCD. What does it stand for? It turns out it doesn't stand for anything. If you look at the XKCD About page, it actually says that it means nothing. It's just a bunch of random letters. The website is updated 3 days a week and has developed a rather cult following. The author of the webcomic, Randall Munroe, is pretty cool if I do say so myself. He is a former NASA roboticist. Though I've never met him, I feel as though I can call him by his first name, Randall. He runs several different websites, XKCD, the comic, a blog called What If, and a blog that he refers to as The Blag. He's written 2 books, XKCD Volume 0, which contains around 200 of his first comics edited, and What If? Serious answers to hypothetical questions that came out just this year. He was featured in a Time magazine article along with Matthew Inman of The Oatmeal. But he isn't the best public speaker. You can see this in the TED Talks and the Colbert Report interview that he had, where he uses the same example for both of them, even though they were about 3 years apart. Several of the projects that he has done are pretty large scale, such as the 1190th strip known as Time. The strip began with a single frame on March 25th, 2013, which was updated periodically for 123 days with a total of 3,099 images when it was finished. This won the Hugo Award in the Best Graphic Story category. As Randall is currently promoting his newest book, What If? Serious Answers to Hypothetical Questions, I am unable to get an interview with him. We are instead going to analyze some comics that I've prepared today. The first comic we'll be looking at today is known as Christmas GPS, in which a man gets a GPS for Christmas, and then the couple decides to put their coordinates of their birthdays in and to visit there and make out. Now, this comic is very popular among the XKCD crowd because it is applicable to their own life, because any person can put their own birthday into the GPS and then find out where that leads them. At one point, Randall Munroe posted his own set of coordinates onto his blog, along with a date, and when he arrives there were over 1,000 XKCD fans there waiting for him. The second comic we'll be looking at today is titled Click and Drag. This comic is Randall Munroe's literally largest comics, as though it seems small, you can drag around the inside of the box and investigate various places that he draws for you. The reason why this is so interesting is because it's so big, and everyone that is a fan of XKCD wants to see how much of the comic they can discover. There are places such as the jellyfish, the floating jellyfish, or the underground that is rather funny for people to watch. The next comic we'll be looking at is titled Children's Fantasy, which provides a dark twist to all those fantasies that everyone knows and loves about a man transported via portal to an alternate universe that he has to save. I think it's funny because, like many, I do enjoy those children's fantasies, and when I see a dark twist like this, it makes everything all the better. By no means would I like to become a webcomic artist. The profession is very difficult, and Randall is very lucky to have been this lucky. His website's net worth is $1.2 million, pretty impressive for a webcomic artist. But he is very inspiring because he does a lot, and he is good at what he does, and he is very influential to his fans, and that's why Randall Munroe is an inspiration to me.
A small town nestled to the corner of Cayuga Lake, surrounded by steep hills and cliffs of shale. Cliffs gouged into powerful works of natural art. Works of art called gorges. These gorges channel water from the surrounding countryside to the center, Cayuga Lake. Ithaca is entirely surrounded by breathtaking gorges, which bring in hordes of tourists and give Ithaca a truly unique community character. Most notably among these are Taganic Falls, Cascadilla Gorge, Ithaca Falls, and the famous Buttermilk Falls. Ithacans take these wonders of nature for granted, but how were they created? Where did they come from? And what will happen to them in the future?
I think they are wonderful. It's an iconic piece of landscape where people can hang out. Hiking there is wonderful. It's a great way to get really people out and active. Also, it was a big draw to the town itself back when Ithaca was a major silent movie place. They were actually able to film a lot of the western scenes that had gorges and everything actually in Ithaca. So that was a great draw for the town as well. So overall, I think they're a great benefit. The only downside is the threat of possible death. They're quite aesthetically pleasing and good to look at, which is an overall just a positive. If you drive around Ithaca, you pass over a bridge and you look over and you see these great waterfalls, and it's one of those things that just adds a little plus to your day.
I believe a lot of people enjoy walking and hiking around them, and They're just another part of Ithaca that adds beauty. And I think it adds an environment where people can go and relax a lot more than some other towns in the area. And they can kind of either sit by the gorge and relax or go on hiking and just relax and have fun.
It all started 15,000 years ago when the glaciers, often over a mile high and covering much of what is now North America, started to retreat from the warming temperatures, dragging tons of dirt and rock with it, greedily gouging the earth as they pass by. These glaciers start to melt, causing billions of tons of water to flow through the newly made gorges, widening them. Time passes and the water starts to steadily flow through, slowly eating away at the rock, taking little microscopic bits off, making the gorges deeper and deeper. As the gorges deepen and penetrate beneath the water table, more and more water starts to run through them, increasing the rate at which the erosion process happens. This, coupled with the fact that winter also greatly weakens the rock in the area, when water seeps into the cracks in the stone, freezes, expands, and forces the rock open, is how gorges were created. These are the natural processes that have molded Ithaca to what it is now. The gorges will continue to seep into the earth, washing tons of rock and dirt into the lake. Not only are they wonders of science, they also continue to attract tourists and fuel Ithaca's economy. Having participated in every part of Ithaca's history, from long before its founding in 1790 to present day, these gorges are our very essence. They define us as Ithacans and fill us with an innate sense of pride.
My introduction to music was in church choir as a young kid when I learned to sing. I learned to sing with the help of the church's organist, Mr. Bill Cowdery. In elementary school, I sang with Mr. Taco and continued singing throughout middle school and high school with teachers such as Mr. Winans, Mr. Parker, and Miss Sariski. I recently started composing and arranging music in multiple styles. My favorite style of music to arrange is an a cappella cover of an existing song, although I have also composed my own a cappella piece. I got the inspiration to try and do such a thing from YouTuber Peter Hollins. Music is an art with many elements, styles, and genres, all depending on its origin and cultural background. One of the greatest styles of music is a cappella music. A cappella music is composed of group or solo singing without the use of instruments. A cappella originated in the Renaissance era, as it was a major component of secular music at this time. Recently, TV shows such as The Sing-Off have made a cappella music more popular. Pentatonics, an a cappella group that made its fame on The Sing-Off, now has 3 albums, tours worldwide, and has millions of fans, proving it is possible to make it big in the a cappella world.
Here's the thing, we started out friends. It was cool, but it was all pretend.
However, what Peter Hollins inspired me to try was something he revolutionized as an independent artist on YouTube. Peter Hollins performs a cappella arrangements by himself. He does this by recording all of the parts to a song, the instruments, the percussion, the vocals, and then overlaying them to create the effect of a popular song made only using the human voice. It's a cool concept, however he makes it look even cooler in his videos. In his videos he records videos of him singing each part to the song, then plays all the videos back in grid formation on the same screen. I recently have tried to do the same sort of thing that Peter Hollins does with varied success. I have found that writing my own a cappella pieces is easier than trying to cover other artists' songs. However, the concept was still fully inspired by Peter Hollins. Another thing Hollins does that is interesting is he partners up with other YouTubers like Lindsey Sterling. In 2013, he joined the crowdfunding program Patreon, which helps support him independently create music on YouTube. This is my studio where I try to recreate this art. Without the state-of-the-art equipment, it's a pretty humble setup. I asked Christian Zuriski, the high school's chorus teacher, about how music and a cappella has influenced her life. How are you inspired to pursue music as a career?
Well, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. And I always loved music, and I had great music teachers, especially in high school. And they inspired me to want to do more with music in college. And so that's where it took me. It took me to Ithaca College, and I continued to love learning more about music, choral music especially, and now I get to do it every day.
Cool. Why do you incorporate a cappella music into your choral concerts? What does it add to your repertoire?
A cappella music and music without instruments is a really satisfying way to make music, I think, as a singer, because you and you alone, and maybe the people you're singing with, are making the music, and you don't need the help of other instruments. And it's, I think, empowering to know that you're the one creating the music. I think it's challenging because you're not getting extra help from another instrument. If you're wrong, it's your fault. But there's something really powerful, I think, about voices coming together, creating those harmonies, and you feel it. It's like you feel it inside of your body, all the different sounds coming together. So I think it's very powerful for the singer, for the performer, and very satisfying. And a cappella music, I mean, that was the first way people made music with their voices. They didn't have instruments. A cappella music has been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Now when we hear the word a cappella, we sometimes think of pop music, pop a cappella music, which is a different genre of a cappella, but I think just as fun. So I think a cappella music opens a lot of doors because of all the genres it involves. So I do like to include all sorts of a cappella music in concerts, whether it's an old Renaissance motet or a pop tune arranged for men's choir, a cappella voices. I think it's great variety for the singers and also great variety for the audience members.
That's a great answer. What's been your favorite a cappella arrangement you've ever done? Oh my goodness, that's hard to pick. I think if I could only choose a cappella music versus accompanied music, I'd probably always choose a cappella as a singer because it really feels good to sing. But I mean, there's thousands and thousands of pieces I've probably either heard or performed or played or sang or taught. It's really hard to pick. One of my all-time favorite pieces of music that just happens to be an a cappella piece, so I guess perhaps this is the answer, is a piece by a composer named Morton Lordson. And the song is called O Magnum Mysterium. It's a Latin text essentially about the birth of Christ. But it's stunning and simple and very serene, but so powerful, whether you're singing it or you're listening to it. Morton Lordson, the composer of that piece, actually served as a great inspiration to Eric Whitacre, who's a well-known composer now, especially of a cappella music, but of other things too. But this piece is not fussy. It's simple, but it's probably the most stunningly beautiful thing I've ever heard and certainly ever performed. So maybe that one. All right, thank you. Well, I couldn't have said that better myself. Ms. Zuriski gave us a powerful insight as to why a cappella music is used by so many singers. I briefly reviewed my history with music, as well as a cappella music's history itself. I identified my inspiration, a cappella groups such as Pentatonics and Peter Hollins, as well as showed a little bit of my inspired work.
That's all, folks.
Hey buddy, look here. I'm gonna teach you how to use this camera so you can do your project, okay? Look at this. So first thing, pay attention. Come on, look over here. Okay. So the first thing you should do is to turn it on, right? So what you do is you.
I get it. Okay, I see the green light on.
Okay.
Why does it smell like pizza? Hi there. I'm here to talk about what I do to inspire Jenny on a daily basis. Ever since the day she adopted me, to be a better human. Would you like to learn the secrets of being a good cat? Or are you a person and would like to know what your cat does to keep you sane? Keep watching and I will show you 7 ways I inspire my human. The simplest way to inspire your human is by sleeping a lot. If you are a cat, you're probably already doing this. Good for you. If your human is like mine, she is easily stressed out by the flashing screen. Every night, she stares at it for hours, anxiously. Whenever she does that, you should sleep off her back, and this will set her an example that life isn't all about the screen, and that all she really needs is just to sleep it off. Just in case she does not take your advice, you must insist that she turn away from the flashing screen by sitting on it. Second tip, making sure that you have a nice smooth purr to be a better cat. It doesn't matter if your purr is loud or quiet. Make sure you practice it all day long to get that perfect vibration that everyone appreciates, human or cat. You know when you've gotten there, and hopefully you'll inspire your human to practice her vibrato more. Tip number 3. To inspire your human, you must be constantly alert. For example, pretending to be alarmed by the jingling ball even though you know it's not a mouse. This will teach your human to pay attention to small things around her. Like that spider from the other day that crept on her arm that she screamed at that I had to catch for her.
Simba!
Tip number 4. Look clean and groomed. Maybe this will teach her something about her room. Tip number 5. Look cute. Tip number 6. Show your belly. Remember that this is only applicable if you have really nice fur there like I do. Last but not least, always remind your human to share her food. You know, I've been wondering what my human thinks of me since I do so much for her. There she is, again staring at the flashing screen. I'm going to ask her a few questions. What is my best quality?
Well, what sets you apart from other cats is that you're really nice to me even when I forget to clean your litter box. Also, I think that you have a really awesome personality. You like cats, you like people, and you act like a boss wherever you go.
What color goes best with my butterscotch fur?
Light blue.
Why did you decide to leash train me?
Well, the purpose of leash training you is so that we can go on walks together. You know, like a human and a dog. But obviously you don't understand the concept of walking because I carry you all the time. Every single time we're out.
I hope this video was helpful for all you fellow cats who are watching. Obviously, I do a lot more to keep my human happy as she is. Can I add one more tip? Always make your human feel loved. Every cat appreciates appreciation, right? Well, so do humans.
Simba! Simba! Hey buddy, look here. I'm gonna teach you how to use this camera so you can do your project, okay? Look at this. So first thing, pay attention. Come on, look over here. Okay. So the first thing you do is to turn it on, right? So what you do is you
Hi there. I'm here to talk about what I do to inspire Jenny on a daily basis. Ever since the day she adopted me, I've been training her to be a better human. Would you like to learn the secrets of being a good cat? Or are you a person and would like to know what your cat does to keep you sane? Keep watching and I will show you 7 ways I inspire my human. The simplest way to inspire your human is by sleeping a lot. If you are a cat, you're probably already doing this. Good for you. If your human is like mine, she is easily stressed out by the flashing screen. Every night, she stares at it for hours, anxiously. Whenever she does that, you should sleep off her back, and this will set her an example that life isn't all about the screen. And that all she really needs is just to sleep it off. Just in case she does not take your advice, you must insist that she turn away from the flashing screen by sitting on it. Second tip, making sure that you have a nice smooth purr to be a better cat. It doesn't matter if your part is loud or quiet. Make sure you practice it all day long to get that perfect vibration that everyone appreciates, human or cat. You know when you've gotten there, and hopefully you'll inspire your human to practice her vibrato more. Tip number 3. To inspire your human, you must be constantly alert. For example, pretending to be alarmed by the jingling ball even though you know it's not a mouse. This will teach your human to pay attention to small things around her. Like that spider from the other day that crept on her arm that she screamed at that I had to catch for her. Tip number 4. Look clean and groomed. Maybe this will teach you something about her room. Tip number 5. Look cute. Tip number 6. Show your belly. Remember that this is only applicable if you have really nice fur there like I do. Not to brag or anything, but nobody likes a furless belly. Last but not least, always remind your human to share her food.
I live in a city with a population of around 30,000. Our coordinates are 42.4433 degrees north and 76.5 degrees west. We boast 2 colleges, 1 lake, a few parks, some falls, and some nice people. One of the most vibrant parts of Ithaca is in the heart of its downtown area. There is the Commons, a pedestrian mall that has been under construction for years, to the exasperation of consumers and businesses alike. However, the Commons is still filled to the brim with good food. I love the taco salad at Viva Taqueria and the focaccia at Just a Taste. There's normally a man peddling magic, but he was unusually absent the last time I went. The public library is right on the Commons, on Green Street. I've got many fond memories of this place. When each Harry Potter installment would come out, my mom and I would wait outside the doors of the library in the morning so we could get our hands on the first copy. I pretty much grew up within the stacks, so I'm pretty enamored of the place. Even the beep boop of the crossing signal across Green Street has become sort of charming. Green Street also features my favorite movie theater in town, Cinemapolis. I love the cool popcorn flavors. I like getting my popcorn with the works. There's something almost magical about buying a ticket and taking a seat in that dark theater, in the pleasant and singular company of the story on screen. There's a similar solace to the one gained by reading a good novel, just you, the characters, and the pages. A cursory description of Ithaca's downtown area isn't complete without some mention of the nearby public parks. Anyone can stop by the Ithaca Falls, right next to the high school. It's great to come here right after school with a friend or two and just marvel at the grandeur of the falls. These falls aren't particularly large, but when you're right there, feeling the slight spray of the water, hearing the falls crash to the rocks, it's pretty spectacular. A mile or so away is Stewart Park. I've heard that back in its prime, the park was a hub of activity. Now it's getting pretty worn out, but you can't beat the views. I'm constantly inspired by my city. It's a funny term, my city. I guess we take possession of things that really aren't ours, like cities, countries, people, places, because they're beautiful and we want to be remembered with them.
Dance inspires me in many ways. When I dance, I feel so many emotions depending on the music and my mood. My solo song is Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Lorde. This song is dark and strong. I have been dancing for 10 years, going on 11, and sadly, this is my last year. This will be my second solo, and it is very different from what I did last year. Last year, I did a hip-hop solo, and this year, I'm doing a contemporary. I'm super excited because I love to perform in front of people. My team has come so far in the past couple years. We have received national titles and began to perform more in the community. My coach and team have taught me a lot of life lessons that I didn't even know existed. Team spirit is one of the most fun things we do because we all go full out in our red, black, and white. We always take a team picture on Spirit Days. My team has been there for me for longer than I can remember, and I don't know what I would do without them. We do everything together, and I love all of them. I love dancing with my team. They are my second family. They bring me up when I am down. I can't imagine going through my life without them. I get so emotional when I think about how this is my senior year, and I'll have to say goodbye. I intend to continue dancing throughout college as well as pursue my interest in business and hotel management. I plan on going to Dean in Franklin, Massachusetts to double major in dance and business. In the next 10 years or so, I plan on being a successful business owner. When I have a daughter or son, I plan on putting him or her in dance because I think it would benefit them and be good for him or her. Dance saved me, and without it, I don't know where I'd be today.
Dance enables you to be someone you aren't. When I dance, I feel free and I can express myself without using words. Dance is my safety net, and without it, I would still be falling. The adrenaline you get from competition to the stresses of making a perfectly straight line of eyeliner. Dancers go through a lot that people take for granted, and I've heard it's not a sport, but to me, that's a whole different story. Dancing is more than a sport, it's an art.
The modern world is a monument to industrial progress, an interconnected system where we have control of nearly every aspect of our lives. We drive our cars, sit in our cubicles, and withdraw to our climate-controlled castles every night. Technological progress is racing like a runaway train towards a future where we exist entirely independently of our environment. And yet, with all our comforts, all the convenience that technology grants us, we still aren't happy. Depression and suicide rates are on the rise, and stress levels are at an all-time high, along with the health problems it causes, from heart disease to diabetes. Maybe what we need is less rather than more. There is something about the open air, the wind filling your lungs, and the smell of leaves that stimulates a sense of peace and contentedness. Ithaca is a wonderful place to appreciate the natural world. Located at the base of the scenic Cayuga Lake, Ithaca is a quaint city where nature spills into the civilized world. Standing downtown, you are flanked by the rolling hills of upstate New York, which explode into splashes of vibrant color during the months of autumn. Thanks to the migration of ancient glaciers, Ithaca has a unique geography, with a spiderweb of deep gorges pouring into the heart of the city. There are so many natural areas to explore, from state parks to your backyard. In a town so full of beautiful geographic features, I figured there would be others that are just as inspired as I am. That's why I visited some of Ithaca's natural areas to ask some simple questions of my fellow nature enthusiasts.
My son is visiting Cornell, so we came for a little walkabout. I went for a run, and then I was like, hey, there's some beautiful nature out here, so I wanted to just check it out.
I'm taking some pictures for my AP art class. It's like kind of open-ended, so I was getting pictures of water.
Why are we here? We went for a walk today because we wanted to get outside, see the woods. Kristen is visiting and she wanted to see some gorges.
We are just enjoying the nice fall leaves and a nice hike on a Sunday. It's 6 Mile Creek.
It's absolutely beautiful, and it's wonderful to be here in the fall to see the leaves. Even though it's sort of past prime, I can still see a lot of the pretty leaves, and even though it's not a particularly lovely day, it's just still wonderful to be outside and listen to the water and see the wildlife.
It's really good. I mean, I used to live in Ohio, and like this makes Ohio look like so bland. Like there's so many hills here, and all these waterfalls and such.
I like the leaves. I like the changes of seasons. I like the rolling hills. And then the water.
I love the sounds. That's always the first thing that I relate to is like crunching leaves or like the wind, because those are things that I don't realize when I'm inside because it's so quiet.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think there's something very good for the soul about being outside.
Definitely. It's really good for photography. I mean, there's so diverse, you know.
I love to be outside. I like playing outside and playing sports.
I think that it's healthy to be outside, healthy for your body, but also your mind too.
I think nature gives us opportunity to be contemplative, and I think that with as much busyness as we have in our lives now, it's really important to take that time to kind of draw into yourself and your thoughts and connect to something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, I think being connected to nature and being outside is important for your mental health and for your physical health as well.
Definitely, yeah. It's like, I don't know, just being indoors all day is kind of bad, I think, you know.
Absolutely. I think it's good mentally, physically, and emotionally. So.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I was reading the book recently, Last Child in the Woods, and it's talking about nature deficit disorder, looking at how is the human affected by the lack of nature in their life, and it just points back to again and again that it's good for psychological health, it's good for emotional health.
Yeah, it's great. My favorite thing to do is like wander in the woods and kind of get lost a little bit and just be in a totally different space mentally and physically to be able to just like get outside and walk or run or play.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's natural for humanity. It's something that's historically natural. It's where we come from. It's our natural habitat rather than being indoors and in cities all the time. So it's good to sort of detox from life by being outside.
These people all draw inspiration from the outdoors, just like I do. There is something powerful and human that exists in nature, and it takes us back to a simpler time when we were free from our petty struggles. When we step outside, we become part of something bigger than ourselves, and that is truly inspiring.
Our day-to-day life experience is strongly dominated by the seed we see every day. If we decide that this day is gonna be a great day, it's gonna be hard for somebody to destroy our day. Different perspectives make people have different ideas, and this is determined by all the past experience and our tutors, like father, mother, teacher, maybe friends, or somebody that reached the top of what we want to reach in life and we never meet in real life. Sometimes we don't have time to pass with our friends or families because we pass too much time working or studying. Working is not something bad, but if that's over our friends and family, that can be a trouble. Study and work consume a lot of time, no? Our priority in life is going to determine what we are going to see every day. And depend of our priority, we are going to see different things. For example, if we have our priority and have good grades, we are not going to pass many time with our friends or families. But if we have our priority, being the best that you can be, you can equilibrate, have good grades, and maybe don't have the best grades in the world, but you will enjoy past time with family and friends. So that's something good. Sometimes we don't appreciate the little gesture that the person on our side just did. So we have to learn how to appreciate that little miracle of wake up, the little miracle that the person that just helped us without asking nothing. And thanks for that, before it's too late. People say that technology is taking people far away from each other. But I think that's not the truth. The truth is that the system that we create is what is taking people apart. The system that we create is trying to prioritize having good grades before spending time with the family. Have a good work before passing time with our friend. And not because the system want our happiness, because work all day is not happiness. It's because that's convenient for the system. So we have to see that and try to separate what we really want in life, what the system wants from us. And so in that way we make the best decision of what we want to do in life.
What really inspires me is the schedule of a student athlete. Student athletes have such a mentally and physically grueling workload. After a long day of taking mentally challenging classes, they head over to practice for another few hours of physically demanding work. Many students also take a zero-period class and leave the house at 7:30 in the morning. They might even get back until 6:30 in the evening. Just being out for 11 hours every day can be a lot. When you throw in AP classes and varsity-level workouts, you've got quite a strenuous life. Student athletes must work hard in the classroom and at practice. Let's go take a day in the life of another student athlete and see how he does it.
So here we have our very own Jacob Marquardt with us. He's a fan of SpongeBob references, Photoshop, and words ending in 15. Athletically, he's completed 2 seasons of cross country, 3 seasons of swimming, and 3 seasons of track and field. So Jacob, varsity cross country, varsity swimming and diving, varsity track and field, off-season workouts, summer training. What do you think of your athletic schedule?
Well, Matt, My athletic schedule is pretty booked. I guess it's pretty loaded, but really, if I wasn't doing cross country in the fall, I would be doing preseason for swimming. So it's pretty stiff, I'd say.
That sounds great. Now, Jacob, you've just completed your second season of varsity cross country. Your first completed season was in 9th grade. Can you tell us why you left and what brought you back?
Well, Matt, it's pretty simple. I quit in 9th grade because I was really bad and I hated it. And I came back because I was kind of bored and I didn't want to do preseason. And my friends were doing it, so I decided I would just give it a try now that I was older and kind of grew into my body. So, in many ways.
Well, we're glad to have you on the team.
Are you?
Overall, out of all 3 sports, which is your favorite and why?
I think it's hard to play favorites. I had a lot of fun during this season, but I mean, I'm very invested in all of my sports. So, I mean, I think I might have the most fun doing track. That's just because it's kind of closes up the whole season and it's not as intense for a lot of the time. So, but really, I love them all equally. It's not true.
I love track and field too. Well, moving on to academics, what do you think of your course load this year?
Well, it's pretty surprising. I have a pretty hefty course load. I only have 1 free period, and yet I find myself doing maybe an hour of homework a night, and my grades are pretty decent, so it's kind of surprising, and I'm just kind of rolling with it.
Wow.
You wrote in the wow. Wow. I'm not actually taking classes this year.
Which is the most challenging, and which class is the most fun?
Oh, I don't want that for the camera. Do I get it? Most challenging is the most fun. None of them are that challenging, and none of them are very fun. Should I get? Well, I know. I'm thinking it through. I need a constructed response. I forgot my classes actually.
Tell us your schedule.
Out of the AP classes I'm taking, physics and calc, I expected them to be harder than they are. I keep thinking they're gonna get harder. They probably will. And psychology is not too hard, but is a lot of work. So my favorite class might just be digital media production, just because it's different and it's fun. It's not like any class I've ever taken before, so it's enjoyable.
So is that one the most fun?
Yes, it is the most fun.
Overall, how do you see yourself as a student athlete? What sets you apart from those who just do the sports you do, or just take the classes you take?
Well, honestly, I don't see myself as all that different than anyone else. Everybody tries hard at what they do, and if they don't, then, I don't know, they should figure it out. But I consider myself to fully apply myself to pretty much everything I do. So some people I'm like, some people are not. That didn't make sense. Yeah, I'd say I am set apart because I am an individual. I'm not quite like anyone else, but there are certainly people who try as hard as I do and do as much as me.
Well, that's great to hear. Finally, Jacob, is there anything you'd like to say about your SpongeBob or your Pen 15 or your Photoshop or anything like that?
I like to imagine that I have a decent sense of humor, and when I think about things, I like to see them and hope they make people laugh. Oh, thank you.
Well, as you've seen, the schedule of a student athlete can be incredibly challenging. You've got students waking up bright and early for zero period, barely coming home for dinner, and staying up late into the night for homework. You've got athletes who have been competing their whole life in multiple sports and on multiple levels. Even on top of that, there are people who have an additional passion, such as computer art. Seeing all the countless hours and endless effort put in by these students really inspires me. Their time, effort, and commitment really push me to focus more on my own passions.
Inspiration. This word, among many others, comes to mind when I think of Ithaca High School's Technology Wing, otherwise known as e-building. The experiences I and others have had here are some of the most influential and impactful of our lives. My day has always started and ended in e-building, from the Project Lead the Way engineering courses, which I've taken every year, either 0 period or first period, first thing in the morning, as well as Code Robotics, the high school's engineering robotics club, which, through regular meetings, officer meetings, build, and other related events, I have stayed after school near almost every other day to be a part of. As a freshman, I was shy and quiet, hardly ever speaking up. The individual work in the PLTW classes were great for me because it aligned with my interests and challenged me. Throughout the year, the expanding amount of partner and team classwork pushed me to work with others, forcing open my introverted perspective. I soon found myself forming close, albeit small bonds with other students. From my first days at the high school, I was drawn to Code Red. I found it to be a community of like-minded students and mentors. This gave upperclassmen and lowerclassmen a unique chance to interact. One special individual mentored me, an older student whom I never would have met if not through Code Red. She saw potential in me that I could not, and exposed that potential by engaging me through our shared love of the team. She drew me into her work as the team's outreach coordinator, inspiring me to take greater strides to promote Code Red in the community and grow as a person. I wanted to emulate her amazing qualities in myself. Partway through my sophomore year, it was quite evident that I was growing as a person. I took on lead roles for the high school's technology open house, something I never imagined before. I ran for the outreach coordinator position and was elected by the team's 75 members. No longer was I pushed to open up, I was required and excited to do so. I became an advocate for STEM education, demonstrating the importance of effective communication skills and engaging other team members. Throughout the PLTW course progression, I have become more adept at problem solving and using the engineering process in individual to small and large team-oriented applications. These skills were forged in the classroom, honed in Code Red, and tested in other classes and activities. I have grown to know students in the engineering courses very well, and I have become exceptionally close with the teachers that advise Code Red. This community is my second family. Because of them, e-building has become the place where I am most content. For me, it is not due to what stays the same, but what changes. I am constantly being challenged with leadership roles, allowing me to feel regarded as a peer among both teachers and students of all levels. This has helped me develop as a person, knowing that my thoughts and ideas are valued, and that I know I have helped create similar growth in others. The confidence I have gained in e-building and the sense of community I developed will always stay with me as I leave high school this next year to the next chapter of my life. The combination of courses taken, meetings attended, relationships formed, and challenges faced have truly inspired me to open up as an individual. Without this, I would not be the person I am today, or the one I will become tomorrow. As I move on to the next stages of my life, I hope that wherever I am, I can find that e-building equivalent, or create such an equivalent, where myself and others can be both inspired and challenged to become better versions of ourselves, versions that some of us could only have dreamed we could become.
On one, two, on 2, 3. Having its rhythmic origins in African tribal music and its melodic and slave folk songs, jazz was born in the early 20th century. With an emphasis on swing and improvisation, jazz is sometimes said to be America's greatest gift to the world. Here at Ithaca High School, jazz plays an equally significant role. On Thursdays from 7 to 9 p.m., a small group of dedicated and talented musicians get together under director Michael Treat to feel the rhythm, get into that swing, and, well, jam. The chart we're working on right now is called In a Mellow Tone by Duke Ellington. Here's a look at some of the work we did last week. So listen to that whole progression. Here's 2, 5, and 1. So here we go. 1, 2, and whole notes. Here we go. Alright, that's it. Rhythm section, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah! What you're hearing right now is another Duke Ellington chart, which the Ithaca High School Jazz Band performed last June in the Carriage House Loft in Collegetown. The title is The Happy-Go-Lucky Local, and it's part 3 of the Deep South Suite. It was written with the intent to sound like a steam engine coming into a small southern town. You can hear that whine and bend of the saxophones there, and the chugga-chugga coming from the trombone and rhythm section. Layered on top, as is the norm for jazz, are improvised solos from the trumpet and tenor saxophone. I was able to talk to my good friend Kieran Lair about his perspective on improvisation, as well as his overall experience in jazz band.
What instrument do I play? When I go to jazz band, I generally play the tenor sax, the alto sax, the bari sax, and even the soprano sax. I joined jazz band when I was a freshman, and this is my 3rd year that I'm participating in jazz band. What's different about the environment in jazz band? In one word, I would probably say chill. Everyone in jazz band is a really cool person, and we all get along really well. And so when you go to jazz band, it's just a better environment, and it's a lot more fun to be in than just a regular band or even a class. In jazz band, you're often with a smaller and more focused group of individuals who all focus on the same musical goal. Who's my favorite jazz artist? That's a tricky question. I would probably have to go with Charlie Parker, nicknamed Bird. He is one of the fastest bebop players of his time. Not only does Charlie Parker have killer playing in the heads, but his improvisation just creates these smooth, crazy licks that it's almost impossible to emulate. Have I ever improvised? Well, I've improvised several different times in jazz band. Jazz band is a great opportunity to improvise because it offers a spot for every single individual in the band, whether it's just on a smaller chart during practice or even on the final concert. Improv is a tricky subject because it's really about expression and emotion that comes down from within your soul, and you can really express yourself when you go out through the music. Improv is thermodynamically favorable. One of the favorite charts that I've played with jazz band is probably Down to the Nightclub by Tower of Power. It's a groovy funk style piece that goes through several different time signatures at once, and it's just so much fun to play with such an awesome group.
Alright, thanks for coming in, Kieran.
Yeah, thanks.
Good to see you. Good talking to you. Alright. We're gonna get home, probably. Some of my favorite pieces that we've done in jazz band were Spain by Chick Corea and Jumpin' at the Woodside, which was by Count Basie. And we played both of those at our June concert at the Carriage House. It's going to take a little bit more rehearsal before our new charts are up to that level. But for the now, we're just going to hear the end of In a Mellow Tone.
Messi is one of the best soccer players in the world, and he plays for FC Barcelona. And during the World Cup this summer, he carried Argentina to the finals match against Germany, where they lost 1-0. Messi inspired me to try hard to do well in soccer, because he's small compared to many soccer players he plays against, and I used to be small compared to my peers that I play soccer with. I eventually learned to adapt to situations that arose in soccer games, and I still look up to Messi today. Following are clips and pictures of Messi's best moments, his great achievements, and his recent performances that I will analyze. Messi starts to make a run before his teammates pass him the ball. Once he gets the ball, he uses his speed and agility to maneuver around 4 people and score a goal. This combination of quickness and maneuverability is very hard to perfect, and I hope someday I will be as good as Messi in terms of skill. Once Messi receives the ball, he is immediately challenged by a player from the opposing team. He uses a very tricky move to pass that player, then beats 3 players with little footsteps and a lot of control over the ball. He then places the ball in the lower corner of the goal in such a way that the goalie cannot save it. This is one of the ways I wish to be like Messi. Next, I will be analyzing Messi's achievements.
Messi has won many achievements over his lifetime. Overall, he has received 8 different awards since 2009. The Ballon d'Or, the European Golden Shoe, La Liga, UEFA Super Cup, Spanish Super Cup, the Club World Cup, Champions League, and Copa del Rey. If that's not enough, he's won some of those awards multiple times over his soccer career. While I only have some trophies from when I was younger, I still hope I can receive as many prestigious awards as Messi has over his soccer career.
We'll now talk about recent information regarding Messi's activities. As of November 7th, Messi scored twice against Ajax, another team in FC Barcelona's division, to tie for the most goals scored in Champions League history. The person he tied with has played 52 more games than Messi, and Messi's career isn't even close to over. Even if some think he's outdated and is no longer the best player in the world, actions like this prove those critics wrong. Messi has statistics to back up the fact that he is one of the top 3 soccer players in the world. We'll now talk about Messi and his personal life. Messi is undeniably a great soccer player, but how does he have the time to play soccer and have a personal life, you may ask? Well, he's very skilled at such time management because he has a wife and a son. He doesn't seem so unbeatable when he loses in online football games on the PlayStation. He even gets angry when he loses, but the people he plays against don't know it's him, so they can't rejoice in beating the world's best soccer player. Aside from PlayStation, Messi participates in charity work, and he created Fundación Leo Messi and is a UNICEF ambassador. Messi loves to help children throughout the world accomplish great things, and Fundación Leo Messi helps guide children to realize their dreams. UNICEF helps children in third world countries with child survival and development, basic education and gender equality, and child protection. Overall, Messi is an amazing soccer player who has endured through tough times and practiced a lot in order to succeed in what he loved. Although I do not plan to play professionally, Messi inspires me to play well in my current level of soccer. Messi has many more achievements than me and is in a whole other level of skill, but I still hope one day to be as successful as Messi. Even those who aren't interested in soccer should aspire to be as successful, popular, and skillful as Messi at what they do.
Music, movies, family, and friends all inspire people on a regular basis. Not to me. I'm a little unique. I like to be alone and free in nature. Not free of technology, but actually riding it. When I feel down or misled, I hop on my 110 Kawasaki dirt bike and go for a ride. Right behind my house is a small piece of land that is just big enough to fit a small but exciting loop where I can go in circles for hours on end. I recently just moved and never rode a dirt bike before, well, at least one that wasn't gas-powered. I did have 2 mini go-karts. My brother and I would chase each other up and down the street near my old house. But then we moved. We now live out of town, but not too far from downtown, in a house by the lake. It's surrounded by woods and one busy street, and from afar I can see the shiny water of the lake. When I want to get away, I'll walk out to the middle of the woods. It's peaceful there, quiet and calm, alone and relaxing. I'll drag my bike out from behind my house and go for a short ride. Even with the roar of the engine, I hear nothing but the nature around me that I see and that I don't. I'll go in circles and run the same route over and over until I empty my tank. The joy in riding a dirt bike allows me to have the ability to turn off in any direction. Although I make a trail to follow, I can decide, wow, that looks cool, and turn off that ways without any idea of what I'll hit. It takes me away and inspires me to ride once again.
It takes a lot of respect and candor to be an inspiration to one person, and it takes even more to be an inspiration to hundreds. My father, Peter Rolzanski, is one of those people that inspires hundreds. He's a professor of chemistry at Cornell University who has been working in his field for 38 years. He's been a mentor to countless graduate students who have worked in his research group and has led them towards earning their degrees. Wolzanski received an American Chemical Society Award in organometallic chemistry in 2011 and is considered one of the very best in his line of work. Not only is Professor Wolzanski an inspiring chemist, he's a great father. Since I was a little kid, my father has coached me about life and taught me how to be the best person that I can be. He has coached the hockey teams of both my sister and myself, as well as showing me how to play golf and baseball. His hard work and dedication to helping my sister and I improve is something that has inspired me since I was very young. He draws from his experiences as a kid and forms very strong opinions about events that occur today. He grew up in Utica, New York, in humble living conditions with loving parents and 2 siblings. Wolzanski competed in almost every sport in high school. He was the quarterback for the football team, pitcher for the baseball team, and played golf for the school. While this was going on, he played sports like tennis, basketball, and hockey recreationally. Growing up, my dad was more than just an athlete. He was one of the smartest kids in his school. Having scored a perfect 800 on his math subject SAT and having good grades all around, Wolzanski was accepted into the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He graduated from MIT with a bachelor's degree in chemistry and moved on to the California Institute of Technology to earn his PhD. He now teaches at Cornell and does research on synthesis, structures, and electronic properties of organometallic and inorganic complexes in order to understand small and large molecule activation and the potential for catalysis with his group. This may sound really confusing, but Wolzanski is an expert. He has mentored a multitude of graduate students as they worked in his research group. Many of them have gone on to be very successful. Whenever his former students are in town, they always let him know, and they will meet up with him to have lunch or something. It says a lot about a person when his students come back like that and want to hang out with him. Wolzanski has influenced all of his students' lives, teaching them to be better scientists, and more importantly, better people. This is what truly makes him an inspiration. He has touched the lives of so many students, and they truly appreciate him for who he is. The amusing part about my father is that he is a very entertaining and funny person. Sure, some of his humor might be a little crass, but he always makes people laugh. Personally, I have a great time walking around the golf course with him and listening to him talk about his day and his opinions. He's also very amusing to listen to when he's watching television. Whether he's watching sports and yelling at the players for doing something incredibly stupid, or watching a movie and adding random sarcastic comments, I love hanging out with him. It's very important for someone with Wolzanski's level of knowledge to have a real sense of humor. It makes the lives of his students more entertaining, and shows that he has more than just the knowledge that he has. I have a tremendous amount of respect for my father, and when I grow up, I will strive to have the same amount of respect and admiration that he does. To be able to capture the attention and respect of almost every single person you meet is something that I think every person in the world should want.
Only the most spineless, useless humans are incapable of argumentation. Without exception, everyone worth knowing about is good at fighting. No matter how much of a pacifist, tree-hugging, hippie, politically correct, and aesthetic he is, if a person has any success, he can fight. It is impossible not to accept humanity's primal and violent roots. Conflicts define us. No one remembers times of peace. Only suffering and strife are remembered. The sweetest rose in the garden is that with the biggest thorns. Chapter 1. Andrew Jin. Andrew is the hallmark of inert humanity, incapable of opinion and confined to his own torpid existence. Just watching him inspires great repulsion. He is a painting of failure. This is because he refuses to fight or think. His life is what others make for him. To illustrate Andrew's social impotence, I will conduct the following experiment. Experiment 1. Andrew.
You're a little fat girl, huh? Andrew, I hate you more than I love my mother. Say it.
Okay. Okay.
Because you don't act like a person.
I was able to walk all over this plebeian. This mollusk of a human is hilariously spineless and useless. He is a shell filled with gooey meat. Chapter 2. Billy Park. Despite Andrew's blatant failure to display any human qualities, there is no reason to fear for his generation's success. We may hold out hope because people like Billy Park exist. We can all be humbled by his aptitude for conflict. He maintains respect through his ambitiously pugnacious attitude. His teachers respect him for his sass and angry zeal. He always knows when it is appropriate to talk back to adults and peers. His productive passion is taking him places. Experiment 2. Billy.
Do you think that you would care about graphics cards if you weren't Korean?
Yes, and hardcore PC gamers. AMD doesn't support Ultra Bay or SLI. You have no idea what that means. 2 graphics cards in 1 year. Your performance is like here from here when you use SLI. No, detachable battery. Yeah, outside from my sister, I have Chris. Let me tell you that way. When you play game and you see a person, would you have a person with rectangular fingers or fingers that look like this? But on a PC, okay, being Korean, StarCraft, move, like you move and you aim with your thumb. My kill death rate was 24-2.
Thanks to Billy, we can all be confident in the future. His characteristic decisiveness and charisma make him a strong person and a strong leader. It is obvious that Billy fully compensates for the various ineptitudes of Andrew. Billy Park inspires all of us to be the best, the most unwavering, the most confident versions of ourselves. Don't be an Andrew, be a Billy.